Hey everyone, Jarek Robbins here, and my beautiful, amazing wife, Amanda Robbins.
I am Amanda
Um,
Robbins. And this is
thrilled.
my amazing husband, Jarek Robbins.
That's me right there.
J-
Boom.
Jarek Robbins.
Thrilled to see you all here. Today we are talking about where is my
Mastering emotions.
mastering emotions, unlocking self-awareness with a special tool we're talking about. The key here is about emotional intelligence. So, yesterday we talked about the importance of emotional intelligence, and it's so important. Self awareness, understanding, and being aware of how you feel in this moment. And let's try this for a second. Take a deep breath. How are you feeling right now? If you would, drop it in the comment box. I want to hear the different versions of how people might be feeling who are tuning in. I'm seeing people tune in from all over the world on a few of our platforms here. I'd love to know, how are you feeling right now? What's interesting, there's some research done, and let me get the exact number.
I love when you have research. You always pull the best research. Can't wait to see what you have today, Robbins.
Oh, I forgot the exact number off the top of my head. Doing some research. Outstanding from Capri. Well, that sounds fun. How are you feeling today? Did you know there's over 544 words to describe human emotions, offering vast
Really?
vocabulary to articulate feelings with precision and specifically? Here's what's really interesting. There's 544 different words to describe how we are feeling. My question to you is, how many do you use?
How many do you
Well,
use?
watch this. If the quality of emotions equals the quality of your life, my dad taught me this. He says, you could find someone who's got $10 billion, an incredible spouse, incredible children, an incredible life. And every day they wake up feeling stressed, anxious, and worried. Is that $1 billion lifestyle? No, that is a stressed, anxious, and worried lifestyle. Or you could meet someone that seemingly doesn't have a whole lot of anything stuff wise, but they wake up abundant, joyful, and just feeling excited and alive every day. That's incredible. They're living this incredible life because of the emotions they're choosing. He shared another thing. He said, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. I was talking to someone who reached out to me, a gentleman who's about to become a billionaire through a deal he's doing. And he said, this phrase haunts me. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. Achieving everything you said you wanted and not knowing how to enjoy it. I asked this guy, what are you going to do once you become a billionaire? He says, I don't know. I guess aim for the next billion. I said, that's it? That's all you got? Who are you going to celebrate with? What moments will you create? What joy will you allow yourself to feel? He goes, I don't know. I'm not that kind of guy. I guess I'll just aim for the next one. It's not, it is what it is. I was like, watch this. If you have a goal you're going after in your life, I need you to write your future self a letter about how important this goal is to you right now at this moment of your life. I need you to write your future self a note that reminds you, here's how important this is, and here's how I hope you're celebrating future self when you achieve it. And if you're not celebrating at this level or more, past self is going to show up in a time machine and smack you upside the head for being ungrateful and unexcited for the dream you once had so many years ago. I always teach people and ask them, how many of you would 11 or 12 or 15-year-old version of you be out of their minds right now at the life you're currently living? And you're currently looking around emotionally going, it's okay. And a younger version of you would be like, are you kidding me? That's my life? Oh, wow, how did I do that? That's incredible. Holy smokes. Wow. And current you is like, it's all right. Past you would show up in a time machine, the DeLorean, doors plop open. Past you gets out, goes, what are you doing? Whack. Celebrate it. Celebrate it like past you wanted it. And it's just a thought. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. Getting everything you want in life and not enjoying it is the ultimate failure. There's this phrase that drives my wife nuts. She hates this phrase. And it's this concept of having everything you want and still complaining about it. That is like the worst. And all that means is we've trained ourselves to constantly find what's wrong with our life instead of what's right with it.
What was the phrase that I don't like?
There's nothing worse than what is it? A miserable rich woman? I can't even remember. I erased the phrase from my vocabulary because it used to frustrate you.
I think the idea here, though, is
it's the same. The point of it, it's the same reflection as there's nothing worse than achieving everything you said you wanted and still not being able to enjoy it. Go ahead, love. I cut you off.
So it can be dehumanizing to not acknowledge the emotion. Like, so step one is it's okay to feel those feelings and those emotions. Do not suppress them. Like, meet them, greet them. Hello, I see you're here. What do you have here to teach me? Right? But to suppress them when something is truly upsetting you in some way, is not healthy either. And just say, oh, I'm fine. I mean, why should I complain? Like, I have all of this. It's like, because you're human. You're allowed to feel feelings. That's part of being a human. And the greatest gift we could give to ourselves, though, is to have a healthy relationship with those emotions in a way where we do not suppress them or overshadow them with, fake happiness, but instead meet them, greet them, and let them go, or figure out what they're here to teach us, right? And that's been one of the greatest lessons. I think what you're trying to get across is, or what I'm taking from this is the idea that if someone lives there, so like, what emotions do you most frequently visit you, right? You are not your emotions. Your emotions are simply what you're focused on, right? And the meaning that you're giving something. So like, you are not them. They're separate from you. And if we can separate it and just acknowledge it like a cloud in the sky, and your peace, your love, your gratitude, whatever that is, the blue part, that's there. It's vast. It's infinite. But this cloud goes by, and that's your emotion. And we just acknowledge, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm feeling this emotion. What is it here to teach me? Right? Now, if that cloud is always there and it's hovering, like, that's just not, that's what we're trying to change, right? Because now we are so accustomed to feeling crappy about our great life. That's just it, that we're just living there. And I think the idea there is be mindful that is a choice that you're choosing perhaps to make because you're focused on what's wrong in your life instead of focusing on what's right. And I think that's what I'm really hearing. So yeah, I don't love that line because I think in that moment it's saying there's a cloud in the sky. How dare there be a cloud in your sky? It's like, listen, it's just a momentary feeling. However, if it's every single day and all the time, now we need to do something, right? Because now you've made that your nervous system's default feeling and emotion, and it's how you wake up and it's how you go to bed. And the reason why it's there, I believe, is because we haven't attuned to what it is there to teach us. And when we can listen to what that emotion is there to teach us, then we can make better choices. We can choose to change our focus. We can choose to change our thoughts or beliefs or stories around it. We can choose. The power to choose, I think, is what is sometimes
Yep.
lacking. But again, I would also advise not to choose to ignore any emotion, but to instead meet it, greet it, and learn from it. What is it here to
Well, I
teach me?
would use the AAA process. Acknowledge, appreciate, adjust. You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
I'm just summarizing what you just summarizing the brilliance you shared.
Acknowledge, appreciate, adjust, meet,
There
greet,
you go.
learn.
Acknowledge, appreciate, adjust. A
Brilliant.
therapist shared that with
I
me. I
love
was
that.
talking to them about people's emotions, and it's amazing. Like we said earlier, there's 544 different words that represent human emotion. On average, most people use, I think it was 4.
I could see
And
that.
hold on one sec, I'll get you the exact number. What are
I could
the
see that.
most common?
Probably like mad, sad, frustrated, confused, angry, kind of mad. Synonyms. Do you use 5 different ones or do you use synonyms of the same one? I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm pissed off.
Well, it's really fascinating. So there's 544 different words to describe human emotions, and on average, oh, I'm trying to find. Oh, it doesn't
Okay,
most
so
most
the
people
question
use
here, we'd
about
love to
5.
hear in the chat, is what emotions do you most commonly experience? What are your top 5 emotions? I'd love to see. I'd love to see.
Well, here's the key: 544 different emotions. Most people average, let's say, use 5. I'm excited, I'm happy, and then I'm either sad, angry, or frustrated. And you're like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, that's your whole life." Doesn't matter if you win the Super Bowl or make $1 million or travel the world or have a child or change someone's life or save someone's life. Your whole world represents happy, maybe excited, frustrated, angry, or overwhelmed is another common. But
I have a
it's people
question.
get stuck and they don't
Mm,
realize that if they want to expand the richness of their life, if they want to expand how they feel, if they want to feel more alive, and oftentimes people turn to really shit habits or experiences to try to feel different emotions. When you sit down with someone and
yes.
say, why do people go eat a bunch of junk food? Because they want to feel differently in that moment. They feel uncomfortable, so they reach for a snack to change how they feel. Most of the time, if you sat with them and said, well, wait a second, are you actually hungry? Is your blood sugar level requiring nutrients? The answer is usually no. They're just reaching for something to change how they feel. When people go smoke a cigarette, they're trying to change how they feel. Here's a ugly one, but a truthful one. When the research was done around infidelity, cheating, it was someone who they said the why they did it was because of the person they felt like in the process. It caused them to feel like a different version of themselves in the process of the act. It's people chasing a feeling. And if I look at that, there's 544 feelings we could choose from. Most of us are choosing 5. And it's like, this concept of emotional intelligence would be one, becoming very close and aware of what are the most common feelings we're choosing. And then 2, asking, what could we start doing in our lives that would allow us to access more of the 544 different options that are available. Trey says he feels good, excited, well, pissed off, down would be a typical one for me. Hold on, let me put it on the screen so you can see it. This is useful. For those watching, here's Trey. Thank you for sharing, Trey. For those
Thanks, Trey.
watching, what are the most common emotions you choose to feel in your life? This is important because you got to realize, I'll ask you, and this can be a later training, I guess, but we could ask, what are some of the bad habits you choose to try to attempt to feel differently? Watch this. There's always a positive too. What are some of the good habits you have in your life that help you to feel more of how you want to feel? What happened if our emotional intelligence, we just became more aware of the emotion we're seeking as we're behaving in the world? It's like, oh, I'm going to go get another degree. Why? What emotion are you trying to feel through that process? Someone's single and they're going to go out on a date. Great. What emotion are you trying to feel in this process? Someone's in business and they're going after another huge goal. Great. What emotion are you trying to feel in this process? If you can start identifying the emotions, you'll start to see the root, the emotional intelligence side of yourself going, I understand the ones that I feel most often, the ones that make me feel my best, the ones that make me feel my worst, and the ones I'm seeking more of in my life. And oftentimes, the goal, the thing, the activity we're trying to go do is our excuse for allowing ourselves to feel that way.
Yeah.
Because people often say, once I achieve that, then I'll feel whatever of the 544 options they're looking at. Then I'll get to feel happy. Then I'll feel fulfilled. Then I'll feel alive. Then I'll feel like I'm important. Then I'll feel whatever it is they're seeking. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I think it's also interesting if we look out, let's say 20, 40 years from now, and you happen to be on your deathbed, your loved ones around you, and it's your final day, you're taking your last breath, you know you're on your way to the next level, and you get to go back to this moment in time right now, how would you show up differently? Right? So your days are done, but you get to come back by choice and choose how you handle the stress of today or the frustration with anything, all these emotions that maybe aren't serving you, that aren't bringing out your best self, that aren't allowing you to connect deeply, intentionally, lovingly with the people that matter most or the things that matter most to you. How would you show up today? What emotions would you choose then? Right? We kind of go to this default emotion, and it's not always bringing out the best of ourselves because in some way we're taking it for granted that we even have today because we don't know if we have tomorrow. But yeah.
Maybe I like your premise of all emotions felt fully lead to joy. So all emotions are great. They all serve a purpose. And so the piece I'm inching more towards with emotional intelligence is, are you aware of your 6 to 10 or 5 most common emotions you choose? Are you aware that you're choosing them? Because a lot of people say, oh, the reason I'm pissed off is because someone did or didn't do something. No, the reason you're pissed off is because that's your emotional home base. That's what you always go to.
Yeah. Yes.
And I figured this out. Happy people always find a way to be happy. Angry people always find a way to be angry. Frustrated people always find a way to be frustrated. They just use the outside stimulus as their excuse or their reason why they're feeling that way again. In reality, the reason why they're feeling that is because that is their choice of emotion of how they feel, regardless of what's going on in the world around them. Trey says something kind of funny. I want to change my state. It's not the way I want to feel, but my wife doesn't like it because I can change it without having to talk through the whole problem with her.
Oh, this is so good, Trey. Thanks for sharing that. One thing that's important to know about most women, especially ones that have a very maternal or nurturing or feminine energy, is that we are naturally like wired to care and to nurture and to cultivate deep and meaningful relationships. Like women thrive at this. And what happens in that frustration, if I can explain for everyone, if it might be helpful, is that it creates a bit of a disconnect. And that's not to say that you have to open up, but it is just helping you understand that she will feel a disconnect if she can't have an idea of what's going on in your world, because it sounds like she's actually reaching out to help. And sometimes you can simply say, like, this was the problem, this is what I did to fix it, and I love you so much, thank you for caring. And then you can move on with it. It's so beautiful. I wanted to add too, and I hope this aligns with what you're sharing, but I was just thinking as you were sharing these emotions, I think one is being aware of them. What are your default emotions? And two, I was thinking, like, if our whole life is a canister of, say, jelly beans, and we get to put every day all the emotions we feel into this canister, we get to pick like the flavor of the jelly bean. I don't know why I picked jelly beans, it's just what came up, but some jelly beans taste better than others, right? Like some people don't like the taste of black licorice jelly beans, but if that black licorice was the nasty jelly bean, you're picking these emotions, and your life at the end, what are all the flavors of emotions you have at the end of your life with your container full of jelly beans? Is it the most delicious, vibrant, fun? And that's not to say your life can't have it's life, and we're humans. We can be sad, we can feel angry, we can feel frustrated. But again, it is being mindful of, like what Jarek was saying. I think hopefully this aligns, is that the idea is that sometimes we're just choosing the default emotion and blaming it on external circumstances. We have the power of choice to choose how we feel about any situation. Is that right?
Well, Antonio from Instagram's asking, is it always a choice? Sometimes it just happens. No? Is it always a choice? Do we always get to choose what emotion we're feeling?
Koa has this beautiful book called What to Do with a Problem. It's a beautiful series. What to do with a problem, what to do with an idea, what to do with a chance. And in the problem one, it's such a beautiful lesson. It talks about, like, this problem is following him around and he's getting really frustrated about this problem. That was a choice. He can be frustrated. And then when he started to realize this problem wasn't going anywhere and it just kept following around, he just kept feeling frustrated, he realized there was more to this problem. The problem actually got bigger. And I realized, like, being frustrated about it isn't fixing it. But if I can look at this problem in a different way, and so he chose to look at it in a different way. And that way was, the problem is actually an opportunity to look for something good, to look for an opportunity around it, to look at it in a different way. And I think that in there is the essence of the power of choice, that we can look at a problem and see it as eternally frustrating, right? And we carry that problem around with us everywhere. And we may even then design our life to avoid the problem or look the other way instead of just addressing the problem. Like, what is this? What is the opportunity here? What is the gift here? What's the lessons here that this problem can teach me? And then access or, tap into, how is that now? How do I feel when I look at it through a different lens? Instead of it being a problem that's just falling around everywhere and pissing me off, instead I see this problem as an opportunity to look for something good, to look for something right? Like problems also present us with, silver linings as well in some way. So we can really change the filter of how we see that problem. And then therefore we end up feeling different because we chose to look at the problem differently. What are your thoughts?
Possibly. I think if keeping this narrowly focused on emotional intelligence Here's what I do know. When young people, they went and did a research study at juvenile hall, and they asked, what are all the words you can use to describe the emotions of how you're feeling? Then they went to, a normal school, public school, and said, ask the kids, what are all the emotions you can use to describe how you're feeling? What they found out was the kids in juvenile hall who had gotten in trouble for some reason had significantly less words they knew to describe how they were feeling. And what they found out was when a child runs out of words to describe how they're feeling, they usually turn to physicalness to try to express the feeling that they can't express with words.
Yes.
That
Absolutely.
becomes violence or this hyperactive movement or aggression or storming out of something or acting out in some way because they've run out of words to describe how they feel.
Yeah.
So for most people watching, as a grown adult, if there's 544 options to describe how you feel, how many are you regularly using? How many of the 544 could you identify without me giving you a list? And what would happen in the world if we could help you and young people expand their vocabulary of how many words they have to describe how they feel? Amanda and I are working on something in the background where we want to be able to reach 1 billion young people with these types of tools. I think how would the world change if we helped young people have access to more vocabulary about emotional intelligence to describe how they're feeling? Would the rate of juvenile hall go down? Would the rate of imprisonment go down? Would the rate of crime and murder and all these things go down based on us giving more emotional intelligence type tools or coaching tools to young people? Getting them to young people is challenging. So my hunch is let's get them to teachers. Your typing is really loud on my
I'm so sorry.
That is A-okay. And so my thought, if we were going to get them the teachers, I did the math. We would need, if we wanted to reach 1 billion young people with these types of tools, we'd need to get to about 40 million teachers. On average, most teachers have 25 students a class. And so in order to do that, the other challenge I've learned is most teachers to afford a, coach training program is kind of expensive. And so my thought is let's propose a buy one, give one. So every person who enrolls in Performance Coach University, we're going to gift a coaching tools for teachers program to a teacher that they sponsor or help us identify. And our thought is if we can get to that 40 million teachers, we'll be able to reach 1 billion young people per year with coaching tools like this to help them access more emotional intelligence. So anyways, if you're interested in being part of that with us, just reach out. Send me a DM, say you're interested in helping. I'll connect the dots and show you where we need the help. We'd love the extra support. Okay, I have to go teach a class on this topic in our Core 4 community. So for those of you in the group, I'll see you in a few minutes in that platform. And for those of you not, if you're interested in joining a community where we dive deep on tools like this, just DM me, send me the info, and I'll send you all the details. Okay, see y'all soon.
Bye, guys.